Good morning. Welcome to Saturday, April 8th, 2023. Welcome to Just Parlays with Chris King. I'm your host, Chris King. And of course, it's the first Saturday in almost 5 months that we don't have college basketball to talk about. As we know, T-Train, very happy that the University of Connecticut won the fifth NCAA title in school history on Monday night as they took down San Diego State rather convincingly, 76-59, in a game that probably wasn't that close when you get right down to it. So congratulations to UConn, congratulations to Dan Hurley and the Big East as they get a title for the first time in a while now. So what does that leave us with? Well, the NBA's in its final weekend of the regular season, and good luck betting on that because it's been a mess the last few days. You saw the game, I believe it was Wednesday night, where Cleveland played Orlando. Cleveland ruled out all their starters. The line went from Cleveland but favored by 4.5 points to Orlando favored by 9.5 points. And then Orlando said, you know what? We're not going to play our starters either because why not? And the fun thing was, as Scott Reichel pointed out on Twitter, it was fan appreciation night in Orlando. So the fans got to see a bunch of guys that nobody cared about playing basketball. Orlando scored 42 points in the first quarter of that game and then scored 52 points over the final three quarters as they were blown out 118-94. We saw more of the let's not play guys entertainment yesterday in the NBA as Dallas, facing playoff elimination, decided to play not to play Kyrie Irving and Tim Hardaway and Christian Wood and Maxi Kleber and a couple other guys, while Luka Doncic played all of the first quarter, and that was it on Slovenian night in Dallas. So entertaining action there, where Chicago ended up winning 115-112. That line went from Chicago being an 8.5-point underdog to being an 11-point underdog to being a 2.5-point underdog by the time all was said and done. The Bulls will be in the playoffs. Dallas, not so much. What else did we see last night around the association? Because it was a busy night in the NBA. We saw Miami decided that they weren't going to play some guys. Now they're locked into playing in the play-in tournament. They would have needed to win yesterday against Washington and then win on Sunday while the Nets dropped their last two in order to have a shot at the 6th seed. Instead, Miami decided not to play Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo and those guys. They lost to the Wizards. Meanwhile, the Nets beat that same Orlando team we were just talking about to seal up the 6th spot in the conference. So your guaranteed playoff teams in the East, the Bucks, the Celtics, the 76ers, the Cavs, the Knicks, and the Nets. An interesting matchup in the first round between the Knicks and the Cavs, as you have Donovan Mitchell, who plays for Cleveland, and the Knicks, who tried to get Donovan Mitchell before fading away in that particular offer or trade deal. The play-in teams, the Heat, the Hawks, the Raptors, and the Bulls. Atlanta will play Miami in the 7-8 matchup. The Bulls will play the Raptors in the 9-10 matchup. The winner, of course, from the 9-10 matchup will play the loser of the 7-8 matchup for the 8 seed. Meanwhile, in the West, things still a little bit more jumbled. Denver's clinched the conference title despite playing horrible basketball over the last several weeks. Memphis has won the Southwest. They'll be the 2 seed. Sacramento has won the Pacific Division. They're the 3 seed. Phoenix is in there. Right now they're 4th. Golden State 5th. The Clippers are 6th, but they're half a game ahead of the Lakers, who own the 7 seed right now. The Pelicans are 8th. The Timberwolves are 9th. The Thunder are 10th. So we'll have to see how things break out to see who plays who in the opening rounds. It looks like we know Oklahoma City is going to be in the 9-10 matchup. It's just a matter of who they end up playing. Odds are we Minnesota 40-40. The Pelicans and the Clippers, or the Pelicans and the Lakers, both 42-39. The Clippers 42-38. The Warriors 43-38. But like I said, good luck trying to bet on the NBA right now in these last 2 days of the season. There's only 3 games tonight. Nothing overly exciting. You've got the Nuggets and the Jazz, the Timberwolves and the Kings, and the Trailblazers. The Timberwolves and the Spurs, and the Trailblazers and the Clippers. So 3 matchups of teams that will be in the postseason against 3 teams that are not going to make the playoffs. And then, of course, tomorrow is the season finale where everybody will be on the floor. When I say everybody, I mean all the teams. I don't mean you're going to see most of the stars that you're used to seeing in those games. It's going to be interesting to see what the teams, especially the teams in the play-in, do. Are they going to try and rest their guys for the play-in tournament, or are they going to play them? Because, I mean, let's face it, the worst thing you want to do right now is have your guys get rusty, especially if you're in a one-game elimination setup like the play-in is. So we'll have to see what transpires there. But either way, the NBA, a dumpster fire as far as getting an accurate read on who's going to play and who isn't. The NHL has a week left in the regular season. Still a lot going on as far as juggling for postseason berths there. Everybody is on the ice today. All 32 teams in action after having yesterday off. Hockey starts at 12:30 with the Hurricanes and Sabres at the KeyBank Center, and it goes all the way through 10:30 when the Avalanche face off with the Kings at the Crypto.com Arena. Should be a good time there. Just taking a look at the playoff standings in the NHL. The Bruins have run away with the top spot in the league. They've won the President's Trophy. They've won everything else. They'll have the top seed in the East. Tampa Bay will face off with Toronto in the first round in the Atlantic Division. Carolina trying to hold off New Jersey for the Metropolitan Division title. The Hurricanes 109 points. The Devils 108. Carolina plays Buffalo today. New Jersey plays Boston. The Rangers have clinched the 3rd seed. They have 104 points. As we go into today, the wild card race down to 4 teams battling for 2 spots. The Panthers and the Islanders both have 89 points. The Penguins have 88 points. They're 1 point back. Buffalo's on life support. They have 83 points. The one thing they have going for them is they have 2 games in hand. New York, Florida, Pittsburgh all played 79 games. Buffalo has played 77. It'll be interesting to see if the Sabres can make a move or not. Meanwhile, in the West, you've got Colorado and Dallas tied for the Central Division lead, both teams with 100 points. The Avs with a 1 game in hand advantage there. Minnesota has 98 points. On the plus side for the Wild, they get Kirill Kaprizov back today after he missed a month with a lower body injury sustained against Winnipeg. That'll be a big boost for them since they have lost 3 in a row coming into today. In the Pacific, Vegas 106 points, Edmonton 103, the Kings 100. Meanwhile, the Kraken have clinched a playoff spot for the first time in their 2-year franchise history. They've got 96 points. They've pretty much locked up the top wild card spot. Winnipeg has 89 points, as do the Flames. Winnipeg has a game in hand. They also own the tiebreaker for wins, as they have 43. Calgary has 37. Nashville has climbed back into it. They have 88 points. So with a week to go, the wild cards are still up for grabs, and there's still some good competition there. Winnipeg has played 78 games, Nashville 78, Calgary has played 79. So we'll see how things transpire with that going forward. Major League Baseball, of course, that's underway now. Been about a week. Tampa Bay undefeated, beat the A's last night 9-5 on the strength of a 6-run third inning. What else did we see yesterday? The Pittsburgh Pirates have won 4 straight games as they beat the White Sox 13-9 in a game where nobody wanted to pitch. The Washington Nationals bounced back from a 1-0 shutout at Coors Field as they beat the Rockies 10-5. The Blue Jays rallied to down the Angels 4-3. The Diamondbacks picked up a 6-3 win over the Dodgers. We saw the Orioles beat the Yankees 7-6. And, of course, in the offensive barn burner of the day, with the winds blowing in at Wrigley Field and temperatures in the 40s, the Chicago Cubs took down the Texas Rangers by a score of 2-0. Of course, baseball wouldn't be baseball if it wasn't for another 15-game slate today, starting at 2:10 with the Astros and the Twins. The last start of the night, the Blue Jays and the Angels at 9:07. That'll be Jose Berrios, still trying to figure out if he can pitch in the major leagues anymore, taking on Tyler Anderson, who was pretty sharp for the Angels in his team debut last week. Other exciting games to look at around the league. You got a lot of interleague action. You've got, like I said, the White Sox and the Pirates. You've got the Royals and the Giants. I'm sure literally dozens of people are excited about that matchup. Then you've got divisional matchups like the Cardinals and the Brewers, the Dodgers and the D-backs. And I think the marquee matchup that most people are excited about is the Padres and the Braves down in Atlanta, provided the weather holds out, which is always a crapshoot. There's been rain through the area most of the day. Rained last night. So if that game goes, it'll be Michael Wacha going against Charlie Morton. Morning, John. Good to see you. Hopefully you're getting ready for Easter. I know that the holidays are always big for a lot of people. So hopefully it's been a good week for you. Hopefully it's been a profitable week, and that's what's the most important when it comes to betting for sure. I mean, since the last time we've been here, we had 3 4-teamers come through during the course of the week, so it was a good week there. To quote Garrett Morris as Chico Escuela from the old Saturday Night Lives in the 70s, baseball's been very, very good to us. 15-3 in the last 18 plays on the premium side, including 8 in a row. So we look to keep that going today as well. You can use the promo code rolling across the bottom of the screen to save 60% off any premium packages out there. So take advantage of it while it's there. Also, make sure that you like, subscribe, ring the bell, all that good stuff. So that way you know when we're on. As of right now, it's 9 a.m. on Saturday mornings. 9 a.m. Eastern, I should say. But you never know if that'll change or not. But still, that's why you like and subscribe. That way you know when we're here. And with that said, we can start taking a look at what we've got on the slate for today. And that's 3 for the money. And we're going to start with the Tampa Bay Rays. We said they're 7-0. They're taking on an Oakland team that's, let's face it, not very good. Now, the money line's a bit high. You could probably play the run line on them. Like I said, Tampa Bay's covered the run line yesterday. You look at the Rays this season against the run line. They've been pretty good as they've covered the front line in every game this season. They haven't won a game by less than 4 runs all year. You look, they beat the Tigers 4-0, 12-2, 5-1, 6, and then they beat the Nationals 6-2, 10-6, and 7-2, and then they beat the A's last night 9-5. Jeffrey Springs going for the Rays. He's coming off 6 no-hit innings where he struck out 12 in his season debut. Meanwhile, the A's countering with Shintaro Fujinami, who was god-awful in his Major League debut, tagged for 8 runs, I believe it was, in 2 1/3. Those kind of numbers aren't going to get it done. I know that, he was a decent pitcher in Japan, went 80 and 65. pitching over there, but he was just lit up by the Angels. And with the way Tampa Bay is playing ball right now, it's hard to argue with what they bring to the table. I'll take the Rays at the Trop, and I'll likely play the run line there. Like I said, when you've won all 7 of your games by at least 4 runs, and you've got a guy who didn't give up a hit in his season debut, you're in good shape there. Sticking with the Tampa Bay trend, we're going to go with the Lightning over the Senators. Ottawa has nothing to play for. They've been eliminated from playoff contention. They've struggled to keep the puck out of their own net. I give DJ Smith's team credit. They're 37, 35, and 7 on the year, 81 points. But they've stumbled lately. They've lost 4 in a row. During that stretch, they've been outscored 17-7, including a 4-3 overtime loss to the Blue Jackets, which hardly inspires confidence. They got pasted 7-2 by Florida Thursday night. Despite firing 58 shots on net, they couldn't beat Alex Leon. And if you can't beat Leon, who's a rookie, you're probably going to have a tough time beating Andrei Vasilevsky. Tampa Bay's had their issues. This will be their 3rd game in 4 days. They lost to the Rangers on Wednesday. Then they got pasted by the Islanders on Thursday. But Tampa Bay, they're a veteran team. They know how to deal with these situations. You have to think that they'll bounce back. Before that, they had won 3 in a row, including a 5-0 blanking of that same Islanders team. So, and in the game against the Islanders, it wasn't Vasilevsky, it was Brian Elliott. He didn't get a lot of help, but the fact remains he got lit up for 6 goals. Nonetheless, I think Tampa Bay is the better team here. They'll get the win on the road. And then Florida, the team we just talked about, taking out Washington. Talk about 2 teams going in different directions. Florida Panthers have won 5 straight, including that aforementioned 7-2 win over Ottawa. Meanwhile, Washington out of the playoff picture. They've lost 5 in a row. They've lost 8 out of 9. None of the games have been particularly close. You look at Florida's stretch here. They've outscored their opponents 24-7 in this 5-game win streak, scoring 7 goals twice in that span. Meanwhile, Washington, well, there's not a whole lot good you can say about the Capitals of late. Taking a look at the Caps, they're now 34, 35, and 9. Like I said, they've lost 5 straight, 8 and 9. They lost to the Blues 5-2. They lost to the Wild 5-3. They blew a multiple goal lead in the 3rd period to lose 7-6 to Columbus. They beat Chicago. Then they lost to Pittsburgh 4-3. They lost to the Islanders. They lost to Tampa Bay 5-1. They lost to the Rangers 5-2. And it had to be the ultimate insult. They went on the road to the Bell Center Thursday night and got absolutely smacked around by the lowly Montreal Canadiens by a score of 6-2. You have to wonder, at this point, does Alex Ovechkin even contemplate coming back next season, knowing what state of disarray this team is in? Either way, Darcy Kemper hasn't panned out. Charlie Lindgren hasn't been great as the backup. Their defense has been weak. They haven't been as prolific offensively as they would like. And you're facing a Florida team right now that is on a roll. The Panthers, like I said, they've won 5 straight. The games haven't been particularly close. I think that, they're fighting for their playoff lives. So they're tied for the wild card spots. But Pittsburgh's only a point back. They need to win games against teams that are sub 500, and that's the situation they're in right now. Look for Florida to earn the win there and make it 6 straight. Leon at this point could steal away the number 1 spot in net for the postseason from Sergei Bobrovsky, who's been out with an illness. Leon's been great. He's made at least 38 saves in 3 of his last 5 starts. Like I said, including 56 in the win over Ottawa the other night. Playing good hockey. And so is the Panthers as a whole. Take the Panthers over the Caps. That takes us to 4 for the show. And we got the New York Islanders, another team we just talked about that are fighting for their playoff lives, taking on Philadelphia Flyers, who are playing to get the season the hell over with. Islanders bounced back from a couple losses. They had lost to Carolina 2-1. They had lost to Tampa Bay 5-0. Bounced back and whipped Tampa Bay 6-1 Thursday night. Like we said, Tampa Bay was playing the second game of a back-to-back there. The Islanders 40-30-9 on the year. Philadelphia 29-36-13. Not a whole lot to like about Philadelphia. They come in with 5 straight losses. They lost to Ottawa 5-4. They lost to Buffalo 6-3. Lost to the Penguins 4-2. The Blues 4-2. And Dallas beat them 4-1. On Thursday night, the Flyers don't score a whole lot. They don't do well on the power play. They don't keep the puck out of their own net. And they're mediocre at the penalty kill. Other than that, they're great. I'm sure their concessions are good. Ilya Sorokin, if he played on a team that scored more often, he'd probably be a front runner for the Vezina, because you look at the numbers that Sorokin has put up on the year, and he is 29, 21, and 7, but his goals against is .238. He has a .924 save percentage. And he's tied for the league lead in shutouts with 5. So he's 5th in goals against, 3rd in save percentage, tied for 1st in shutouts, and he's 9th in wins in the National Hockey League. And just think about the number of games where he's lost low-scoring affairs. I mean, you look at the Carolina game, he lost when he gave up 2 goals. And going back through the schedule there, he lost 2-1 in a shootout to Minnesota, 3-2 in a shootout to Ottawa. And then an overtime game there. He's lost a bunch of games where the team has only scored 1 or 2 goals. And then if you go back to December, he had 46 saves against Colorado in a game the Islanders lost 1-0 in a shootout. I mean, you can't do a whole lot more to help your team out. There's a game back in November where he lost the Coyotes 2-0, where he gave 1 goal, and then Arizona hit the empty net. But, I mean, you can only do so much if your team isn't scoring, and that's the issue that Sorokin's had to deal with, is stretches where his team won't put the puck in the net. But here they're playing a Flyers team that doesn't score. The Flyers have tallied just 210 goals on the season, which is 2nd worst in the Eastern Conference and 4th worst in the league. If it wasn't for the Blackhawks and the Ducks, who haven't cracked the 200-goal mark, they'd look a lot worse. The under very much in play for that contest as well. The Dodgers and the Diamondbacks. I know the Diamondbacks won yesterday's game, but let's face it, Arizona still is a very young team. They're very raw. It's going to take some time for them to figure things out. Madison Bumgarner, not sharp again. They had to go to the bullpen. Dre Jamieson got the winning relief yesterday. Pitching matchup for today's game, Zach Davies, who never has impressed anyone, especially with his control problems, taking on Noah Syndergaard. Syndergaard wasn't bad in his debut for the Dodgers. He threw 6 innings, gave a run on 4 hits, no walks, 6 strikeouts, didn't factor in the decision in a game that they ended up dropping 2-1. But he still looks sharp. I trust him more than I trust Davies at this point. And that's basically what it boils down to. I like the Dodgers in this spot. I think they should get the win rather easily. They've got a better lineup. I know that there's a lot of hype and a lot of excitement around guys like Corbin Carroll. But until we see them put together numbers at the big league level, you got to be a little bit concerned. Then we head back to the ice. I'm going to take Colorado over the Kings. Colorado, of course, still battling for the Central Division crown. We saw them beat San Jose the other night. The Kings have lost 2 straight. They got mollywomped by Vegas out of the gate the other night. They were down 4-0 after the opening period, ended up losing 5-2. You look at the Avs, they've won 3 straight. They've won 6 of 7. They've won 12 of their last 14 games. So they've gotten hot down the stretch as they've gotten healthier, pushed themselves into the race in the Central. Like we said, the Avs and Stars tied with 100 points. Colorado has the advantage as far as wins. They've won 47 games. The Stars have won 43. Minnesota, who's 2 points back, has won 44. And those times tiebreakers come into play, it'll work out well for them. Mikko Rantanen has had a great season, 52 goals for the Avs. The Kings, I can't take anything away from what they've done. 45, 24, and 10. They traded away Jonathan Quick. They got Joonas Korpisalo from Columbus. He's been solid other than the other day. Phoenix Copley has been decent, but how much are you going to get from a goaltender that spent the last several years in the minors and has rather pedestrian numbers? Sure, he's 24, 5, and 3, but his goals against is 2.6. His save percentage is just 905. And he's recorded only 1 shutout. He's classified as a 31-year-old rookie. Because you look at his numbers, he played a game with the Blues in 2015, 2016. Then he played 1 game in 2016, 2017. He made 27 starts with Caps in 2018, 2019, backing up Braden Holtby. Went 16, 7, and 3 with a 290 goals against a 905 save percentage. And then he was in the minors for 3 years. He made 2 appearances last year for Washington, totaling 48 minutes. Or average 48 minutes, I should say. So he didn't even start both games. He came in at relief once. And now he's in Los Angeles, and he's made a career high 36 appearances, 34 starts. But can you trust a guy that, like I said, he's a 31-year-old rookie? Can you count on him in the playoffs? And that's a question that's going to remain to be seen. He's going to get a test facing a Colorado team that's rolling right now. And I just don't know if they're up to it when you get right down to it. And then we've got the Bruins, who can set an NHL record for wins in a season tonight as they host the Devils. Granted, there's not a whole lot for Boston to play for at this point, other than that record. And my buddy Zig Fracassi, who does stuff for Sirius XM now, is a Bruins fan, and he said they've got 61 wins right now, but all he's worried about is the inverse, which is 16, which is the number of wins you need to win the Stanley Cup, and that's what it's all about in the National Hockey League. This is going to be an entertaining game. I can see why ABC put it on in prime time. I think that the Bruins will get the win and break the record. I just think that you can trust Swayman and Allmark a little more than you can trust Vitek Vanacek and Mackenzie Blackwood at net. I'll take the Bruins, especially as a short favorite in this contest, as they prevail again for what seems like the 7 billionth time this season. And with that said, we'll move on to the shot in the dark. Now remember, you don't have to pick all 10 of these. You can mix and match them. You can take 2 or 3. You can take 3 or 5. You can mix them up with some of the other picks that we put up there. Or, however you want to do it. It's pretty simple. And with that said, this is the only place you're going to see the NBA games because, like I said, we don't know who's going to play, who isn't going to play. That's why I didn't want to put them up at the top part of the show. And to be fair, I put them here because I didn't want anybody to say, well, what about the NBA? Well, I mean, that's a valid point, but these games are going to be a crapshoot at best. Either way, the Clippers playing Portland, we've talked about how bad Portland is. They shut down pretty much everybody a couple of weeks ago, including Damian Lillard. They're coming off a loss to San Antonio, which is damning enough. They come in losers of 7 of their last 8 games. Their one win in that stretch was a 2-point win over Minnesota. But let's face it, you look at the injury report such that it is, and you're looking, you have to wonder, is Portland at the point where, they're going to suit up fans because their injury report shows Nasir Little, Matisse Thybulle, Johnson, Nurkic, Anthony Simons, Justice Winslow, Damian Lillard, and Jeremy Grant all out. I guess on the plus side, Trendon Watford and Shaden Sharp and Kevin Knox are all probable. Drew Eubanks is questionable. Meanwhile, the Clippers, they don't have anybody really major on the injury report. Marcus Morris Sr., not expected to play with back spasms. Of course, Paul George still out with that knee injury he sustained last month. Eric Gordon is listed as probable. So basically, Portland is got nobody. And the Clippers are still trying to make sure they can lock up a guaranteed playoff spot. So they're going to be motivated. Can't say that about a Portland team that's just trying to get the season over with at this point. Take note, like I said, hopefully they don't rule out half the team between now and tip-off, but you never know. The Twins over the Astros. That pitching matchup, Joe Ryan taking on Luis Garcia, first pitch at 2:10. I backed the Astros yesterday. They made Sonny Gray look like Nolan Ryan in his prime. They went on to lose the game 3-2 in 10 innings. You look at that, Sonny Gray struck out 13 guys in 7 innings, didn't even throw 100 pitches. So Houston was a whiff factory. They struck out 16 times in the game. Scored just 2 runs. One of those came in extras with the ghost runner coming around to score. Just 5 hits for the Astros yesterday. Disappointing performance. And this one, I don't know what to make of Garcia yet. Ryan looks pretty good in his debut. I'm going to back the Twins at home. Because we got to see more from Houston's bats. You're looking. Jeremy Pena is batting $171. Bregman's hitting $152. Chas McCormick's hitting $222. Outside of the middle of the lineup with Alvarez, who's hitting $320, Abreu, who's hitting $333, and Kyle Tucker, who's hitting $321. There's not a whole lot to like, They miss Altuve right now, who, of course, was injured in the World Baseball Classic. And they just look rather listless. And that's not a good thing when you're the defending World Series champs. Now, I'm not saying the Astros aren't going to figure it out. I'm just saying that you have to be leery of it until they do. There's the other NBA game. I didn't mess with the Denver-Utah game at all. Minnesota taking on the Spurs. Minnesota is trying to potentially improve their play-in tournament seeding. They're 9th right now. They can finish as good as well as 42-40. We talked about how New Orleans and the Lakers are both 42 and 39 right now. So depending on what shakes out, they could potentially move up. That's not necessarily likely. But you're facing a San Antonio team that's been going through the motions pretty much all season long. And just taking a look at San Antonio's injury report, it's rather ugly as well. Doug McDermott is out. Devontae Graham is listed as out. Devin Vassell is out. Jeremy Sochan is out. Kem Birch hasn't played since he got traded for. And, of course, Charles Bassey was hurt last month. He's done for the year. Meanwhile, Keldon Johnson and Romeo Langford are questionable. Meanwhile, Minnesota, Jalen Noel questionable. Austin Rivers questionable. Naz Reid out indefinitely with a wrist injury. But, you still got Gobert and Towns and, that's enough big men that Minnesota should be able to get by against a San Antonio team that is, let's be honest, not very good. San Antonio horrible on the defensive end of the floor, giving up 122.8 points a game, letting opponents shoot better than 50% from the field, including almost 39% from three-point range. San Antonio just has been brutal defensively. You have to wonder, will Greg Popovich be back next season, or has he decided that he's had enough and he's ready to retire? If so, he's a Hall of Fame coach for a reason. Most wins in NBA history. Question remains, what does he have to prove at this point? The answer, nothing. Will he be back? Who knows? The Sabres over the Hurricanes. This is just because Buffalo needs the win. They've kind of shot in the arm a bit from Devin Levy, who was made his debut last week after getting signed out of Northeastern after the Huskies college hockey season ended. Carolina, they've been up and down of late. They really miss Svechnikov, who's done for the year with a knee injury. I think the Sabres playing at home should be able to get a win. To try and keep their faint playoff hopes alive. We'll see how that pans out. Winnipeg over Nashville. We talked about this is a big matchup for the wild cards in the Western Conference. Like we said, Winnipeg 43-32-3 for 89 points. They hold the second wild card spot right now. Nashville 40-30-8 for 88 points. They're 1 point back. Both teams have 4 games left in the season. This is a big game here. Winnipeg, they're playing at home. I give them the advantage over a Nashville team that's, they've turned it on of late. But the question is it too little too late? Because let's face it, they've traded away a lot of talent at the deadline. And the thought was they were retooling for the future, but they've managed to push back in it. I just think Winnipeg playing at home. They're 24-13-2 on home ice. They've got Connor Hellebuyck in net. I think they can get the win to kind of right the ship. They've been mediocre of late themselves. But I think home ice advantage works for them in this contest. The Giants and the Royals, you could also look at the under in this game. It's always fun playing out there in the heavy layer of air at Oracle Park. Pitching matchup there is Brady Singer taking on Sean Manaea. Manaea pitched in relief earlier this week against the White Sox, and I was surprised there. I guess they were just trying to get him up to speed because they had off days. But he'll be in the rotation today. That came at 4:05. The Royals, they can't hit. I mean, let's be honest. They scored 3 runs yesterday and got the win. But you look at Kansas City's numbers offensively this season. Salvador Perez is hitting .259. And of guys that have double-digit at-bats, He's the only other guy to hit higher than him is Edward Olivares, who's hit 267 in 15 at bats. Among the guys who have played 7 or 8 games this season, Perez 259, Bobby Witt's hit $148. MJ Melendez has hit $120. Vinny Pasquantino 208, Michael Massey 182, and Hunter Dozier 095. Those numbers not going to get it done. Olivares leads the team in RBIs with 3. He's tied with Bobby Witt, Pasquantino, and Nicky Lopez. Those numbers are not very good. As a team, the Royals hitting $180 this season. They're slugging .300. Their OPS is .563. They're going to have to find some major league hitters at this point if they hope to have any kind of success winning games. XFL action, Vegas and St. Louis over 46. We're talking about two teams that can score points. Vegas picked up a win last week. They beat Arlington San Antonio 26-12. Vegas in 7 weeks has racked up 137 points, so just under 20 points a game. Seattle has scored 163. The problem with Vegas is they don't play defense. They've given up 25 points a game this year. And you have to think A.J. McCarron, who leads the XFL with 17 touchdown passes, should be able to slice up that Vegas defense. Meanwhile, Vegas's offense looked better last week with Jalen McClendon under center. All of a sudden, these teams with the dual threat quarterbacks, so we talked about it last week with Orlando looking better with Quentin Dormady under center. And he turned around and led Orlando their first win of the year as they stunned DC. These dual threat quarterbacks have ignited some of these mediocre offenses all of a sudden. But then when I looked at over 46, the Mariners over the Guardians, the Mariners came back, won yesterday 5-3. Pitching matchup there is going to be Marco Gonzalez against Cal Quantrill. Both guys left something to be desired in their first outing. I just like the way Seattle bounced back nicely when they got punched in the mouth a little bit earlier in the game, came back. They've won 2 of 3 now after starting the year 1-4. They're still not great by any stretch of the imagination, but I'm going to give the edge to Seattle. I just like the way that they're playing right now. Julio Rodriguez homered yesterday. There's some good talent on that Seattle roster. The question is, can they put it all together? Ty France is in there. Eugenio Suarez is not striking out all the time yet. And if they can get Teoscar Hernandez going, who's hit just $172 and struck out 12 times in 29 at bats, that'd be a good Seattle lineup. Pitching, they've got Castillo and they've got Gilbert and they've got Flexen and they've got George Kirby. Robbie Ray, once he comes back off the shelf, will be helpful as well. Cleveland, I don't know. I know they scored a bunch of runs against the A's, but it's the A's, so pretty much everybody can score against them. I'm just not sold on their lineup when you look at it. Yeah, you've got Ramirez, but Jimenez is a slap hitter. So is Kwan. There's not a lot of power there. In fact, there's not a lot of power in the lineup, period. You got Josh Bell, who's hit $115, 3 for 26 so far this season with no extra base hits. Other than him and maybe Josh Naylor, there's not a lot of pop in that lineup. Cleveland has just 5 home runs in 8 games this season. You have to wonder, can they score enough runs against, decent pitching to survive, because you look, Beavers made 2 starts, thrown 12 innings, has a 225 earned run average, and has no decisions. The bullpen has been suspect. We watched Class A blow a save against Oakland. We saw them blow a 4-0 lead in the 8th against Oakland in another game before they managed to rally to win those contests. Plesac was shelled in his one start. It'll be interesting to see how that goes. Good to see you, T-Train. Hope you have a happy Easter as well. I know that with it being Easter weekend, everybody's, enjoying sleeping in or getting ready for the holiday. So hopefully that everybody has a good time with that. Wrap it up here. Orlando over Arlington. Arlington is terrible. They're 3-4, but they've scored a league low 93 points in 7 games. That's just over 13 points a game. And that's not going to get it done against anybody. Orlando has looked good of late, like we said. Scored 37 points last week. You have to think that the Guardians can cover a 1 or 1.5 point line. T-Train says it's Bananasville there. Yep. I remember those days. Those days were entertaining back home. But enjoy it. Enjoy the grandkids. Hopefully Yogi doesn't get underfoot. And like I said, make memories, have a good time, eat a lot of food. Congratulations again about UConn winning the title. T-Train left with the turkey as his wife took off. Well, at least you don't have all the kids yet. So I mean that's a plus. If she left you with those, then you'd probably be ready to make a run for the border. And I'm not talking about Taco Bell. Well, yeah, that's true. The destroying of the campus was unfortunate, but these kids don't understand how things work sometimes. And finally, the Angels over the Blue Jays. I just, Toronto came back and won that game yesterday, probably helped by the fact that the Angels played piss poor baseball parts of that contest. I don't trust Barrios. He was horrible in his debut. Anderson was good. It's just tough to have faith in a guy like Barrios who gave up 8 runs on 9 hits in 5 2/3 innings against Kansas City of all teams. We know that we just talked about how the Royals aren't a good offensive team, but damn if they didn't look like the 27 Yankees when Barrios pitched against them. I'll take the Angels. I'll take Tyler Anderson in that one. And that'll do it. It was a quick show today because I know, like I said, everybody's preparing for the holiday. I hope you all have a happy Easter. I hope you have a safe weekend. Thanks for being here. Don't forget, like I said, if you use the promo code scrolling across the bottom, you can save 60% off any premium plays. I said 15-3 in my last 18 in Major League Baseball. T-Train said he took the Mets over Miami. I like that one. I like Senga pitching for the Mets against who the hell is it? Trevor Rogers, who is less than inspiring for the Marlins. But yeah, make sure you like and subscribe, ring the bell so you know when we're here. And enjoy the rest of your weekend. Enjoy the rest of the Masters, a tradition unlike any other. The Masters on CBS. And when we come back next week, we'll be getting ready to start the NBA playoffs. We'll be talking about the NHL playoffs coming up. And, of course, we more baseball. And next week, we might have a surprise for you. So you'll have to stay tuned once we hammer those details out. Sounds good, T-Train. You take care. So until next week, for the Winners and Whiners Network, for Just Parlays, I'm Chris King. We'll see you next time. So long, everybody.